Hello BookTube, my name is Elizabeth and welcome back to the Owlery. Thank you so much for joining me at this video. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today. I'm going to be doing a list of books that I thought I would hate, but I read and then I ended up loving it. And that rarely happens for me. It's very rare that I read a book that I'm convinced that I'm not going to like. And there's several reasons why I might do it, because I was sent for it for review, or it's really popular and everyone else is reading it. And so I'm giving you guys a list of some of the books that I did buckle down and read, and I ended up really enjoying it. So let's go ahead and get started. The first one is Snow Like Ashes by Sarah Rosh. So I bought this book years ago, probably about 3 years ago when it first came out, and I read the first chapter and I was not impressed at all. I don't know what it was. I feel like in the last 3 years I've tried to pick up this book multiple times, right? So but there was something about it that I couldn't get rid of it, and I bought the second book and then I bought the third book, and I just couldn't not read the series. It was fantasy, it was young adult, a lot of people really enjoyed it, and so I had to just keep giving it a try. And so there were multiple times that I picked it up, read the first chapter or the second chapter, and I was just like, this is just not, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. And then when the third book came out, I buckled down and I was like, I'm just going to read it. I'm going to read it and I'm going to finish the sentence, because I bought all the books for God knows why. And then I fell in love and it was amazing, and I'm pretty sure I gave the first two 5 stars, and then I haven't read the third one yet because I don't want the series to end. It's really good. The first 2 or 3 chapters, you're just like, what is going on? This is not interesting. This is boring. I just don't understand anything. But once you get through like the first half of the first book, you're hooked like I was, and it's really good. It has amazing magic system, and the love triangle kind of, sort of, but not really, is so good. And like, I'm not a big fan of love triangles, but when they're done right, they're done right, and Sarah Rosh knows how to write a good love triangle. So I really enjoyed this one. Next, you guys might be surprised that I thought I was going to absolutely despise Cinder by Marissa Meyer. And if you guys have been on my channel for a while, you know that Marissa Meyer is my favorite author of all time. Okay, so when I first started BookTube, I was in that stage where I just needed to buy all of the books, because I was like through a black hole of BookTube and everyone was talking about these books, and I just had to have all of them, right? And I would go to Barnes & Noble, or I would shop Amazon, and I would spend a buttload on books, and everyone was talking about Cinder, and I was just like, I'm not putting my money into a book about an android or a girl that's like half robot. Like, at the time, I was not big into science fiction at all, and I was just like, I don't even think I had ever read a fairy tale retelling, and now you guys know those are 2 of my favorite genres like ever. And I think it's all thanks to Cinder, because I think it might have been Chloe who finally convinced me to read it, and I just buckled down and I did it, and I fell in love from like the very first chapter. I'm so glad that I picked up this series, because it's so good. And then I caught up on the series, and I had to read Winter and Stars Above and Ferris when they came out, and it's just my favorite series of all time, you guys. I highly recommend. There are so many people out there who won't read Cinder because of the hype, but you're seriously missing out. Like, the whole series is fan-freaking-tastic. It's so good. Read it in publication order. It's the best way to read it. And it's just really good. Like, just give it one book. Just try the first book, and if you don't like it, then you don't have to read it. But I promise you, if you read the first one, if you're a fan at all of a good YA, you will love this one. It's the epitome of YA amazingness. Next on my list is actually a book that I had to read for school, and I hated reading for school. Like, I was a huge reader in elementary school and middle school, and then when I got to high school and I had to read 50,000 books for English, I was like, nope. So I stopped reading completely when I was in high school for pleasure, because I had to read so much as a grade or as homework or whatever. And when I was taking my English lit class, I believe, I had to read On Writing by Stephen King, and this is probably the book that I've owned the longest. I don't have an attachment to books that I've owned. They're not very few. So this is probably one of the books that I've had the longest, because I've had it since high school, which, if you'll believe, is like 6 years ago, which sounds like not very long, but for me it's like a really long time. So I had to read this, and I loved it. Like, I had never I heard Stephen King, and I was like, ugh, I hate horror. I don't even know like what he's talking. I thought it was going to be a horror novel for some reason called On Writing, but then I realized it's a memoir about his life and about how he became a writer and his techniques, and it was just, it's amazing. Like, there's this one passage that he talks about in this book about writing being time travel, where he is writing this book. I wish I could think of the year. Like, this is probably not the first edition that this was printed, but this says it was published in 2000, which is probably not like when it was really published. But let's say he's sitting on his desk in his office in California in the year 2000, and I'm sitting here reading it in 2016, and he could be dead, but his ideas, I mean, he's not, thank God, but his ideas and his words live on through his writing, and it's like time travel. His thoughts are time traveling from his head to my head, and it was just like so like mind opening. Like, I just was like, I just never had thought about writing the way that he explained it in this book. And it is National Novel Writing Month, so it's the middle of the month, you guys, and if you are losing steam. I am not a writer. I don't write at all. I do not enjoy writing stories. I enjoy reading stories. I enjoyed consuming stories, but I can't write worth a crap, and I can't come up with stories worth anything, and I don't even enjoy writing. Like, you'd have to stick me with like 50,000 needles before you get me to write. But for those of you who are participating in NaNoWriMo and you have not read On Writing by Stephen King, put your project away. Take a day or two and read this book, because it will fill you with inspiration. Like, when I read it, I was filled with inspiration for like 5 seconds, and then I was like, you don't like to write, Elizabeth. What are you doing? But for those of you who love writing but are kind of losing steam for your work in progress for NaNoWriMo, highly, highly recommend. Even if you have read this already, read it again, because it is so good and it gives you so much information for writing craft, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I was so shocked, because I thought that I was going to despise this book like I did everything else that I had to read in high school. Next was H2O by Virginia Bergen. So I got some money for my birthday this year, I don't remember what it was, but and my brother had read this, or he saw the cover and he thought it was cool, and I had bought all the books that I wanted, but I had extra money, and so I had to buy another book. And my brother was like, oh, this is really cool. And I was like, yeah, that looks cool. But what mostly got me was, like, the cover, because there's, like, these holes in there. And in this book, the water is poisonous, so it looks like the rain, like, ate a hole through the front of the cover. And so I was like, that is really cool. And then, like, there's words from one of the pages in the shape of a raindrop on the front. And so the cover really sold me for this book, but I didn't really think I was going to like it at all. I was really worried that I was going to hate it, and I spent my money on this book that I didn't know I was going to like, but it was fantastic. Our main character in this book, Ruby, is fighting for her life. She's 14, but she's so mature, and she's so funny, and she's fighting for her life, trying to survive during this, basically the apocalypse, because the rain is literally killing everything, livestock, and you can't go outside because one drop will kill you, but it's so good, and the way that Virginia Bergen writes just gets into your head, and by the time I was done with this book, I was convinced that I could not go outside because the rain was going to kill me, and that's how real it felt. And it was just a fantastic novel. Highly recommend for those of you who are interested in dystopians or post-apocalyptic. This is really good. And last but not least, probably the most shocking book on this list is The Selection series by Kiera Cass. So I hate The Bachelor. All right, when I was younger and The Bachelor was on, I was like, that is the most ridiculous show in the entire world. I refused to watch it. And then one season, I was living with my mom. I was moved back with my parents for a little while, because of reasons, stuff happens. And it just so happened that The Bachelor premiered, and we only had the one TV in the house, so I didn't have anything else to do. So I sat down and I watched the premiere of The Bachelor, and I was hooked for that one season. And then in the end, the guy that I wanted to get picked got picked, and then like a year later, they were divorced, and I was just like, nope, love is dead. I will never watch that show ever again. So when I heard about this book, it being like a Bachelor-style romance, I was like, ain't no way in hell I'm ever picking that book up. And honestly, I don't know what made me do it. I don't know if it was pure curiosity or if I heard a booktuber say that they really loved it, and because it's just so popular, I decided to just do it. But I was hooked. I read the first 3 books in 2 to 3 days, and I just needed more, and it was amazing. And this is just so much more than a romance. It really is about the love and romance between 2 people and not a guy and 35 women. It's amazing. And the dystopian aspect of it, because this is a dystopian novel. A lot of people don't know that. It is not a romance. It is a dystopian. It is not fantasy. It is dystopian. And so the dystopian aspect of it is so interesting to me. It is the future of our world, but the way that the world that Kira Cass created around this time and what happened, and it was so good. And it's just so much more than The Bachelor. It really, really is. So for those of you who think that the selection series is just The Bachelor, it's not. It's a lot more than that, and it doesn't feel like The Bachelor either. So maybe the first book, a little. But after that, it's pretty good. Anyway, I really like this book, and same thing with you guys. If you guys are fans of dystopian at all, especially if you're fans of contemporary or romance, this is a huge, like, heavy contemporary romance novel. So anyone who is a fan of contemporary romance, I really feel like they're going to enjoy this book, but it does have touches of dystopian in it, which for me makes it a lot better. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling now about, like, one of my favorite books of all time. So good. Thank you guys so much for coming to this video. I really, really appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments below a book that you read that you thought you were going to hate but ended up really, really loving, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!